Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Formula Bharat Academy workshop this season. We are glad you could all make it for this virtual event. Before we begin, kindly mute your microphones while present in this room. If you're stuck amongst others, hold on the letter G to move through the crowd. Please maintain the decorum of the room as our speaker will be presenting on Zoom. You can view his presentation via the video thumbnail on the bottom right of your screen. Double click on the thumbnail for a full view. To submit questions during this live Q&A session, kindly locate the green board at the top or bottom of this room. Click on the letter X to fill the form. Our speaker today is Sonu Singh, who has been with Formula Bharat since its inception. Later on, he took on the role as a document reviewer lead at Formula Bharat and has been doing so for the past 3 years. Sonu has over 6+ years of experience in product development. He has also been an elementary function pilot for AMT robotized transmission product for Renault Nissan Alliance, CMF AA Plus, platform vehicles, etc. And examples like Renault Kwid, Triber, Kiger, and Datsun Ready Go. So without further ado, please welcome Sonu Singh. Sonu, you may go ahead.
Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to one and all. So I will just start the session on the common mistakes in documentation. Before we begin, so just to understand more about the documentation of SES and IAD, the problem what we see over the year is there is a big gap between an understanding of what the intent of the documentation it is all about. So what I would do, I would just take SES and IAD from step by step from each and every tab to give you a context about what is required and where are the areas where a doc reviewer and a student there is a mismatch of the frequency. So I will start with the first one. Yeah, so as we see a SES document, the first thing what we have is the version history. So here the purpose of this is to understand the roadmap journey of the entire revision of the SES. So this gives an idea what has changed and which comments from and reviewer has been addressed. How it has to be? It has to be something like this, where on the left side you give a revision number and on the right side you mention the tab name and the revision done. Similarly, if you see a next example, it is like for the front hook bracing support, there has been a new addition as a dimension in the new revision. So that is where you have to mention on the revision comment. Now the next one what we have is rules clarification. So again, the purpose here is to make an alignment between an reviewer and the team to understand the right intent of the correction requested. So there are certain cases where like a reviewer would post a comment where he needs some clarity on the some chassis element, but the team is confused with the rule. So what team can do at this point of time, they can just write down the rule on the left side and they can put down the image where there is a change. You need to have a better clarity and you can put down in a simple words what has to be clarified. So this gives an idea to the reviewer of the document to understand whether whatever he is requesting for or whatever is needed for the document, it's been clearly conveyed to the team or not, or whether the team has a different doubt and the reviewer is looking at a different angle. So in order to bring both into the same page, it's important to use this tab and because we see over the years like this tab is mostly unfilled and like there are limited teams who uses this tab and there then they go for an email query. So but email query generally takes a bit longer time because that depends on the availability of the reviewer and the team as well to reply back and respond. But when you do a revision, you can get things documented in your document as well, and also it would be a quick revision updates as well. So to take it forward, because there are also the penalties for you. So it's always better to not to hold the doubts with you over the mail, but it's better to release within other updates and documenting your clarification on the tab which is given already in the SES. Next is the cover sheet. So here, if you see, the overall document is designed in a way like every areas where it is yellow, it has to be, it is basically an action area by the team. So the top things is very common. What is the main purpose of this sheet is like, you need to list down the design, description and material column. What it majorly, it has to have a material of the each and every component which is listed here, right from main hoop tubing to firewall, impact detonator, attachment, everything. So the main purpose of here is to, you need to write all the material. If you're using Chromoly 4130, it has to be written Chromoly 4130. So yeah, in this sheet, there is also a few data given on the beneath. If you see, there are 6 different checklists. It's also present, but most of the team, like they missed out this, and they don't even think this is important as thinking about this is just a cover sheet where you need to write a material. But if you see, there are different 6 sheets. We'll see one by one. Yeah, the first one talks about the rule T3.3, which is an alternate material rule. So this tab is in place where you need to document everything, whatever it is required by the rule book for an alternate material. So if we see what is 3.3, so alternate material. So alternative material, what is classified? So there is a proper definition already given in the rule book, which says what can come into the alternative material, and if you see the rule 3.3.2, it will say you what is classified as an other materials. And in this other material, there are few exceptions where if you see the first point 3.31, there are few exceptions which has to be followed when you consider this alternative material. And if you see the other rule, which is 3.3.3, this talks about the main data, what has to be there in an SES. So which is receipt, data sheet of the used tubing, documentation about the welding process, filler material, and heat treatment, and the test which shows an adequate strength and the elongation at the break in the weld condition. So this place, what we have seen here, this is meant for the specific for proving the alternative material justification, that whether it as per the rule which we see here. Yeah. So next what we have is the material tab. So here this is explicitly made for the material which is non-metallic material properties, where we see non-steel here, I mean. So you see there are a few things to be taken care. If you see on the first row, it is steel, aluminum 2, composite 1, other 1, other 2, other 3. So this is something which would reflect on your other sheets. So if you go to other tab, whenever you have an option to select the material, this is where what you have to remember is this the code. And if you are using a steel, you need not to do anything because it's already pre-filled. If it's an alternate material other than steel, you need to put all the required data, which is in yellow. So it's a Young's modulus, yield strength, and so on. So, and you can give an coding for the material name, and you can use the some, like suppose if it is for the front bulkhead support, you can just write FBHS. This is how this tab is used. This tab is integrated with all the other tabs. Sorry. So going forward, so now next is this is to explicitly made for the monocoque laminate test data. If you see the rule 3.5, which is specific for the monocoque chassis. So all the data, whatever it is written in the rule book for the 3.5, all those data should come to this tab where you need to put the test setup pictures, and as well as if you see on the neck on the below, you will see there are few predefined formulas given in the Excel. What you have to do, you just have to fill the yellow region, and when you see something which turns green, it shows that it is you are in the right direction on respect to the rule. But if something turns red, then you definitely have to recheck your data and as well as the rule whether it compliant, because this is it designed in a way which accommodate the minimum requirement of the rule. And in the below you can paste all the log data of your test, whatever it is listed in T3.5. Yeah. So also there is another rule where, like, apart from inspection hole, you cannot drill, you cannot have a hole more than 4 mm anywhere in the tubing. If you do so, you need to have an well tube insert, and the equivalency of that has to be justified. Major team miss this part, and when they come into the TI, we see that this is never been evaluated because it was never been documented in SES. If you do not do a documentation in SES, it's very difficult for an technical during a technical inspection time to understand whether it is been used or not been used. So if something is not documented in SES, that means we considered it. You are not into that loop of like of a family group of families where you're using this as an exception. But when you know by your design, there is a chance where I need to do a drill of more than 4 mm hole, and so definitely by rule you need to go through the equivalency test. And here, if you see, you have a predefined formulas already here. You just have to select what kind of material it is, the tube shape, the OD wall thickness, and on that you will see there would be an the insert area, tube area as well. So you will see this red turns green. If it is green, that means it meets the minimum requirement condition. If it doesn't turn green, so that means definitely you need to relook on your spec of the insert or of your tubing to understand why what has to be done minimum to meet the criteria. Yeah. So again, so for the monocoque parts, so there would be definitely lap joint, and that test has to be passed here in an SES. So, and yeah, these are the again formulated columns here. What you have to do, you just have to put the required lap area, the shear strength on these columns, and you see the first status, joint status. If it turns green, you're good to go. And the test sample data has to be pasted in the yellow region below. If it is red, that gives you an straight away indication that you are missing out some minimum requirement condition by the rule. So it's, see, if you see, this document is designed in a way that this is basically it's a checklist for you where it automatically populate whether the requirement is met or not at a major part. Then you can have a decision at the same point of time whether what has to be done or what need not to be done. If you give a wrong data and if it turns green and the data what you are bringing it to the event site, it is different, definitely it doesn't proves that your SES is approved based on your chassis at the site. So it would be a different data in its SES and the chassis would be of different data. So it's always important to have a right data. So yeah, and the last one what we have is like proof of an alloyed steel. So this is what I explained before. It is pretty much same, but we will see what is a definition by the rule. If you see the rule 3.2.1, it clearly says a steel tubing has to be made up from such content, if you see a carbon steel content has been given the magnesium and the other element, this percentage is predefined. So if you fall under this loop, so this makes an alternative material. And as I said before, the alternative material has got some exceptions. So exception has to be followed, and beyond that, you need to justify all the documents to justify that it is equivalent within structural requirement. So those documents are also listed here, what I explained before in the previous slides. The same thing has to be documented here. It's just a continuation of the what was given in the first checklist option. Yeah. So moving forward, we have another tab called chassis picks. So here, this tab seems simple to everybody, but we find a lot of mistakes here. So what is now, if I tell you what kind of mistake, it is a negligence mistakes, because they don't need, the team most of the time forget to read what is the requirement. Because if you see here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highlighted paragraphs given here, and that is only the requirement. There is nothing else needed apart from that. But still team miss this area in a rush of preparing a document in the last night, and they just paste the chassis picks by reading the tab name is chassis picks. But if you see what is written here, you need to attach the pictures of the frame for the SES reviewer process, which shows the color code and the outer diameter and the wall thickness. So this is the first basic requirement, where you need to have a chassis pick which shows the wall diameter of the tube and the wall thickness. The first requirement. The second, what is given here, it has to have all the 4 views, which is if you see top, front, top, and the side views, and the isometric as well as. So this is the second requirement. And if you go to the second paragraph, there where the major part is there. So it has to have an angle of main hoop and the front hoops, and also the angle of the main hoop below the upper side impact tube. If you want to know very specifically what does this mean, you need to refer 3.8.4 rule, which specifically talks about the angle of a main hoop below upper side impact tube. So this angles and the rest of the angles and the distance from the top member to the bracing and the diameter of the wall thickness. Yeah. So these are the most important things when we see at this column. This has to be listed out and marked properly. Now, if a team comes from CV, it has to highlight a powertrain fuel tank with a color red in the chassis. They have to show the location of it. Where are you placing the IC powertrain and the fuel tank? And coming to EV vehicles, they have to locate the high voltage component in this all the four image. Where are you placing it? So if you see an overall, there is a very simple requirement, but still somehow like team misses it out and they just place a chassis pick with the dimensioning. But if you see the second column, that is most important, and that is where most of the teams are lagging to so far. Yeah. So next, what we have is main hoop tubing. So this tab is specifically meant to cross-check the if you go through a rule book, you will have minimum material requirement, that is T 3.2.3 rule, where there you will get a table where the minimum requirement is mentioned. In order to check, validate whether you are meeting a minimum requirement condition, we have this tab where you just need to come and fill the yellow area, which is the tube OD and the wall thickness. If you do so, you will see this, whatever it is in the below region, if it turns green, you meet the minimum condition, so you're good to go. So there is no concern, if at all, if one of the element come red. So that means your minimum material condition is not met. So this flags you straight away at that point of time to understand, okay, there is something wrong, I do need to consult rule book once again. But see, there are like, I should not say it's a wrong practice by the team, but due to some error, what we have understood is like this columns has turned green by default. If we go and change the variable which is on the yellow side, if I place 25.4 and in place of that, if I place 26, if I see this is not turning, this is not even changing. So that means there is something wrong. There is something wrong with the Excel sheet. We would not totally judge these data on your Excel sheet. What we have is like, we have a sample Excel sheet with us. We take the data from your Excel and we try to put into our Excel and see whether it turns green or not. So even if there is a case where you do a, it's as it's an Excel, you can do, you can change the color. So if you do even a green color, this will not be an right thing to do basically, but still, just to tell you, we do check on a sample Excel just to check whether the formulas are working fine or not. And the data, what you have given, it's legit or not. So it's very important from your side also. If you find that your Excel is not moving with the data, so definitely you please re-download your sample of the SES and try to put the right data on it, so that even you have a right understanding of the evaluation, and the same, even when we see, we understand it's a right one. So here there is no specific need of any images, but what we need is to validate the minimum material condition, which is by the rule 3.2.3. Yeah. So next we have front hoop tubing. So it is basically same what I explained in the last slide. Here also we just try to validate the minimum requirement condition. This is for the front hoop tubing. So again, when we users all need to give a data on the yellow side, and once everything is okay, it has to turn green. If it is green, it is the requirement is met. And the same thing happens for the main hoop bracing also. Now the next what we have is main hoop brace support. So here you get to have two options, whether you go with a composite design or you go with a conventional tubing design. So whatever it is, like, you just have to select the first material type. If you click on that, it's a drop down option where you get to select all the option. Few minutes back I explained you over the material tag, where I said just remember the material code. So when you see that code, whatever it was written here, if you click on this drop down, you'll see exactly same. So if it's an steel for you, you don't have to bother. You just have to just select steel. If it's in case if it's non-steel part and you're using some other material, so it's important to select the right material to have a proper judgment of this areas, which is the minimum requirement, and which has to turn green. Yeah. So from this, it starts like you need to place an image of your the component what we are speaking about. So here we are talking about the main hoop bracing support. So here, this is the place where you need to put the relevant images or the CAD screenshots here. Yeah. So I have one example here, just to showcase, just to clear the things. So if you see, so now the requirement here is main hoop bracing support. So this is the area where we see a main hoop bracing support, right? So here the team has highlighted it is main hoop support bracing, fine. And the same thing for the below also, he has written the same thing. And whenever you put an image, there is always a need to have a legend, and legend should talk about the what are tubings it is in the chassis which is being shown in the image, and its dimension. What would be the dimension again? If I go back, the dimension would include whatever you have given in the input as an yellow region. So if you see, what is an input for you? Tube, OD, and wall thickness. And if you come here, so that has to be there here. Steel, tubing, the diameter, and the wall thickness, which would which will correlate us with the chassis and the data fed here, and will give a better understanding of the the main hook brace, how it is placed. Now in this document, the many people can say, yeah, everything is met. Whatever, if I see this diagram, like, yeah. So if you see the green is 1.6, it's the wall thickness, but what is given as an input here? It is just 1.2. So there where the mismatch happens. So the teams aren't aware, or due to rest, they don't take care of this. They just miss out to place the right legend. It can be a issue with the legend, or it can be an issue with the wrong data given as an input. So both are considered as mistake. So in order to understand what is the right need of this tab, we just need to go and understand what does the rule says. And the rule, if you see this tab itself says, talks about the rule number. If you see, it is 3.10.5 and 3.3.5. 3.3.5, it is for the monocoque chassis, and the other one is for the generalized chassis. So if you see 3.10.5, it says it talks about the main support bracing, which is the lower end of the main hook brace must be supported back to the upper attachment point of the main hook, to the side impact structure, and to the lower structure attachment point of the main hook to the side impact structure by node to node triangulated structure or equivalent composite structure. So this is the major requirement here in this tab. So whenever a reviewer sees your document and he's in this tab, so he would be looking to satisfy this. So if I go back, if you see, if you see the image again, you will understand the rule or the intent of this tab is something else, but what is shown in the image, it is not the one. So what has to be done is, like, if you see, it talks about lower end of the main hook brace must be supported back to the upper attachment point and to the side impact. So you will see there are few terms here: lower attachment points, side impact structure, upper attachment points. So when it comes to you to place the CAD image, you need to rightly identify which member is what. This is the most important task here. So if it is a front, if it's a bracing, fine, just name it as a bracing, main hook brace support, and then you need to re-understand what the rule says, the lower end of the main hook brace. So that means if I come here, if you can see my cursor, the lower end is this, and what it has to do, it has to support back to the upper attachment point of the main hook, must have support back to the upper attachment point of the main hook to the side impact of and to the lower attachment point. That means it has to go to the upper as well as to the lower attachment point of the side impact structure. This is, and that has to be triangulated. So if you see here, in this case, do you think it is doing the purpose? It would be clear to you if you go and read it once again. So this is where the major intent happens. So what it can be done in this image is, like, you need to rightly identify what is an upper attachment member for the front hook base support, and what is a lower attachment member, and what is a diagonal support, in order to justify node to node triangulated structure. If you do so, and if you identify that, it becomes more relevant to you to also relate with the rule, and also it becomes easier for a doc reviewer to understand whether the right understanding of the rule is conveyed to you. It can be a situation where you did not understand the rule and you have identified it wrong. So in that case, if you just place the naming of the tube in the right way, the reviewer can give you a straight away comment that your naming is wrong. You need to re-understand the naming structure. So in this case, you get a right input that, okay, my understanding of the members is wrong and design could be right. But when you do not write anything and you give just a blank chassis with just showing the rear frame portion, but will not give you a right input as well as, and it will be a repetitive, we will just say it is incomplete. but you will be in a situation we will not understand what is being required from our side, and we will not be in a situation where we understand that it is not understood by your side. So it is always important, whatever is understood to you, try to convey in the doc, so that even the reviewers should understand, fine, the team hasn't understood this rule, let me explain it to him. So they will definitely take their time and explain it to you that okay, the naming is wrong, whether the tube placement is wrong, or whether the rule itself is not met. So it's important to do a right naming. The bottom line of this tab is like you need to have a right naming, and the legend should be right. Will give you the main purpose of this tab, and it will give you an, it will also, it will definitely reduce your timeline of interaction, because the things will get conveyed very easily in one or two SES. You can get to clear this, and you can move on to the other queries. Hope this is clear. I will move forward. Yeah, so now it is for the front hook bracing. So it is pretty much the same format. So you just have to give the input wherever there is a yellow region, and the things when it turns green on the bottom side, if you see on the right side, whatever it is in the 100, so you are good to go. If it is not, definitely you need to recheck on the minimum requirement. And the same, you have an yellow region here, so definitely you need to place a CAD image. So I have given you an example here again. So in this case, if I see what is green, green is 1.6 wall thickness. Okay, 25.4, it is the OD. If I come back to here, it is good. It is good. No problem with this. Everything is fine. And here they have highlighted me the front hook bracing. Fine. So this is what I was talking to you. Like if you if the intent of the rule is clear to you, you can do it correctly. So to understand the intent of the rule, let's go to 3.11, as this talks about, this tab talks about 3.11. So if I see here, if you see the rule, okay, the first part is met. The front hook bracing attached on each side of the front hook, as well as the structure forward of the driver's feet, and the minimum of 2 tubes without any bend. So this is quite met. Okay, and if you see the rule number 3.11.2, it needs something. It says the bracing support must attach no lower than 50 mm below the top surface of the front hook. So if I go back here, there, if you see this green tube, it is below the front tube, but does it give me an understanding to whether it meets the condition of 50 mm? Definitely, it will not give me an understanding, because I do not have access to your CAD files. It is all what I have, it's your image. So it's important for you to also highlight here the distance of this, so that when it comes to rule of 3.11.2, I just get to see the dimension. Yeah, it should be lower than 50. And when I see your image, okay, it is lower than 50. It's good to go. I don't have any comment here, and I will move it forward. Similarly, if you see, there is another rule which is 3.11.3, which talk about the inclination. So what team has to do? They have to define the inclination here. What is the inclination? If you do this minimum purpose of this rule, you get to clear this tab also without any queries. So this tab is also clear. There could be a repetitive work, because you might say me that, sir, in chassis column already I have given this dimension. What is the point of giving it here? So that is an overview of your chassis, which we see as a globally. Okay, fine. How does the chassis look? But when we go tab by tab, it's important to cover up the individual rules on that tab, because that will keep you as a tension free, in a sense, like you have your cross check whether the image what you have placed in the cover, the cover page, the entire chassis pick, it's the same with what you are placing it here. Because there were many cases where in the past where we understood the team got confused, and they have placed a wrong image in the first chassis picks column, and whatever they had in their subsequent tab, it was right. And they realized when we pointed out that this is not compliant with your chassis picks, then they have changed their chassis pick column, not the tab, because they know the tab columns are right. So it's also very important for you to, you know, look at the rules once again and try to incorporate whatever it is listed out in the rule book, because beyond that there is no requirement from any reviewer to ask you any question. It is only to see whether the minimum condition or the safety concerns are met or not in terms of SES. Yeah, so I move forward. So yeah, so this is what I was explaining you about the rule. Yeah. So if I go next, what we have is the bulkhead. So it's almost same. No, like we need it's yellow area. It's your areas where you need to put the input, and the area which turns green gives you an indicate. It's an indicator to understand you are in a right direction, or you need to still do something on the terms of minimum condition requirement. Yeah. So yes, the same thing you have here. It's like area to place your images. So here we have an image again. If you see this, it's an this talks about 3.13, which is the rule for the bulkhead. But what team has placed here? They have placed an image of the front view of the chassis, and which has a total IA assembly. Now I would like to understand whether this is right. Do you think this is right? When the intent and when we are trying to judge something which is respect to specifically bulkhead, why do I need to have an IA assembly on it? I need to see what is the how is the bulkhead design, because that is what is important to me at this point of time. And I want to see whether the tubing, whatever it is used, it is the same, it is fitted in the formulas. This is what is the major purpose of this tab. So going, yeah. So if in this case, what has to be there? It has to be without the IA assembly. You just need to present your front bulkhead, because that is more relevant for us than anything else at this point of time. Because we are the rule is very specific to the bulkhead. I don't have to see what else is there in the as an IA, because that will have its own area where we would be judging and we will be conveying you the input. Yeah. So going forward, so now for the front bulkhead, we have a support structure. So here you will see there are 3 tubing requirement, and this tubing requirement is you see the rule. There's a by the rule it is the required. You need to place the dimension of it. Yeah. So if yes, I will go forward. Yeah. Yeah. So the same thing we will have a yellow area where you need to put the CAD image screenshot. Yeah. And yeah, so I have an example here from one of the team where you see the requirement was, though the requirement was only the front bulkhead support structure, he has given, or the C has given the entire chassis. Okay, no problem. And also given a legend, which is not exactly what it has to be, because you see yellow color is nowhere in the chassis, but still he has given a yellow color. Fine, it's a little bit relevant. I can consider even. But what is understood here? He has highlighted he has marked some member's name, but whether it's right, this is the question here. So if I go to next, and if you understand the rule, it's 3.14. So you will see it specifically required that it has to have a minimum 3 members, which is upper, lower, and diagonal. So it is a minimum requirement. Where it has to have an upper, minimum, and the diagonal. And you see the next part of it is talk about the placing of it. If you see upper support member must be attached to the bulkhead a maximum of 50 mm below the top surface, and then attached to the front hook maximum of 50 mm below the upper side impact if the attachment point of the upper member is greater than 100 mm above the side impact member. Note to note conversion important. So if you see this area, this is where it is most important. Now if I come here and if you see, I do not get any evidence to justify whether you met this rule or not. So in order to I should validate and say it's good to go, I need to see 1, 2, 3 points has to be highlighted here in your chassis, so that it's in click of, you know, it's on one click. I understand, fine, it is compliant. But here what would give me a question like, no, the team has not understood the rule. So let me ask him a question. So again, this iteration of correction of your document goes on, where it takes time. So if this is understood at the first time from your side, and if you highlight all those things at the first go, it becomes easier from a doc reviewer and a team to get their document approved at faster rate. Yeah. So yeah, so going forward, so we have an SIS. Yeah. So here also, if you see, there are 3 different column, and the reason you would know, like upper, lower, and the diagonal member, and the thing has to turn green. There is a place to place your images, and yeah. So look at this. Uh, in this, you will say the team has done a quite good amount of work. He has highlighted the minimum requirement. He has highlighted the upper impacts, lower impact, and the side impact member. Good, right? And the tubing also, legend is also there. See, one thing is important. If you see, all the tab has to have a legend. Legend is important to all the specific tab wherever you are placing a CAD image. Okay. Now let's have a look to the rule. If you see the rule is very simple, clear. It says that the upper member must be connected to the main hook or the front hook. It must be at a height between 240 to 320. If I go back, can you see? Now he says the upper member is the upper member side impact member is this, which is at 186.4. And what the rule says, the upper member must connect to the main hook, and it must be at the height of 240 to 320. The team has rightly identified the area where it has to lie, but still, if you see, he has given it here. So what does it mean? The rule is not clear. Definitely, right? So you need to understand the rule, what is given, and then you need to place your naming structure howsoever it is. Going back to rule again, the lower member must connect to the bottom. Okay, it's good to go. It is connected to lower member both the side, and diagonal member must be triangulated upper and the lower member. If I go back, okay, if this is considered to be an upper member, he is triangulated. But the question is open here. What is the first need? What is the first need here? It has to be between 240 to 320 mm. But what is here? It is not meeting. So these are the basic, because these are the basic things where team miss out as an like in a hurry of completing a document. But if these things can be checked with no, within the university, and like you don't release a document outside of your university, so you will save your own time, and this would be an easy call for you even, and easy call for us also. Like, so if the things are placed in a right way and it meets the minimum requirement of the rule, none of the document reviewer will hold your document. It will be clear at the first go. Yeah. So just to show you the intent of the rule, because it can be a confusing for the few team members. So if you see, the diagram is already in the rule book, which talks very clearly. If you see the if you can see my cursor here, the upper member, the reason is totally within the requirement, which is of 240 to 320. From the lowest point in the cockpit, and this is upper diagonal and this is lower. This is how it is identified here. So this is how you need to also identify in your chassis and see whether it is compliant to the minimum requirement, whatever it is given in the rule. Yeah. So coming to the next tab, it is shoulder harness bar. So this is the shoulder harness bar, which is generally mounted on the main hook. So again, you need to put the minimum requirement, whatever it is, and you see this has to turn green. There's an image area given you for the screenshot of the CAD image. So you just have to place this. Legend is important, as I said before. So if you say here, so shoulder harness bar, they have written it's straight. Okay, it's straight, good, but what is else missing? So now what do we look here is to understand whether your member is straight, how it is placed, and also we check here for the mounting of your shoulder harness. Where is your actual exact mounting? So, but in this image, you will see the team has not placed the mounting point. So it's important for the team to place a mounting point here where they are actually mounting, and what is the center to center distance, because there is a rule where it has to meet minimum condition of, or the maximum condition of that range, where center to center distance should be of this amount. So that gets validated at the first go here itself. So you don't have to be troubled during your TI. Okay, this is not meant. So you need to go to the hot pit, cut it down, re-weld it. So if you do it here right away, you get those validated at this point of time. So you don't have to hassle during the TI inspection. So this is what is important and what we are looking always. Now, one more thing, if you see this image, the wall thickness is 2.4. And if I see this image, the wall thickness is 2.5. So you will see a discrepancy here. So this is what also we check throughout, right? From the first tab to the last tab. You need to maintain the consistency, because overall it's the same chassis, what you are having it from the chassis column tab to the end of this document. So such issues are also like there are many times, but it is something which can be not taken care at your side at the first go itself, and we need to ask you for these changes. Yeah. So moving forward, it is AI plate where
Sonu?
we, yeah.
Hi, Sonu. Just a quick question. We're on SES right now, and how long do you think we will take further for SES to be done?
No, we will, I think I have an IAD on the same slides, so I will complete in 15 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the update. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So continuing to IA plate. So here again the same things. We need to put the given input to the yellow field, and which would turn things green, and you will have an bottom area where you need to place some cat. So I will show you an image from one of the SCS where you can just have a look and understand whether it is right or not. So they have given a minimum requirement. It is okay in this, and when we talk, I've been telling you from the first tab, when we look at the specific tab, we are very particular about that tab and the rule. So when we talk about an anti-intrusion plate, so we need not to have an entire chassis image here. What is relevant here to have the AI plate as a plate and its dimension, because that is the thing you are giving as an input. So if I go to next slide, you'll see, okay. So in this case, I have a front image of the chassis, good enough, and the AI plate. This could be fine, right? Because this is the overall dimension, and I have a thickness, what is given as an input, fine. But again, does the rule demand this? This is a question to us again. So let's go to the rule again. So if you see the rule, so it says very clearly on the 3.17.3 that on the vehicle it should be of 1.5 mm solid steel or 4 mm of aluminum AIP. Fine, good enough. And if you see the first point, if IA and AIP are bolted to the front bulkhead, it must be of the same size as the outer dimension of the bulkhead. Let me go back to the image. Now, what is the size of this? It is 476 on the length. And if I see the height, it is 385.40. Then come back to the image. You will see 476. And here the dimension is given is 449. What the rule says, it must be the same size of the outer dimension of the front bulkhead. But here, if you see, the dimensions are not clear. Now, few people can tell me this is the center to center dimension. But are we asking here center to center dimension? This is the first point here. The dimension, what is needed in the rule and what has to be validated, it has to be it has to be outside dimension of the front bulkhead, extreme end direction. But what is been highlighted here, it is from the center to center, which is again, it's not relevant for me. I do not have a CAD, so I go and do a calculation and find out whether it is right or not, because this document, this tab documentation is not in a right way. So obviously I will ask for a revision. So in order to not to do a revision, you can correct it at the first time, where you can just again read the rule and what is the intent of the rule, just highlight the same specific point. It does the purpose, it does the total purpose. There is no trouble for you and no trouble for anybody, because we would see it complies the rule, it is okay for us, and we give a go ahead. So this is what I wanted to highlight. So I will quickly cover the IID report. So in IID report, you get a template, and this template you need to fill the data, whatever it is listed. There are few concerns in IID, which I would be talking right now. But as an overall, I see like IID reports are quite mature, and like it's much better scale than SES, because that is that's get validated very soon. Most of the team generally uses standard IID, so there is no trouble. For the team which goes beyond on an engineering side and try to manufacture their own IA, it's a good learning from for them, and also it's a good to us also to we get to review such documents. Yeah, so I have given you a screenshot of the IID report here. What I wanted to highlight is like, when you write some data, it has to be driven again with the rules, because if you see the rule book, there is in specific rules given for IA and IIP mounting method. So there but if you write something very generalized, sticking with glue, what is that glue? It's a paper glue, which it's not been clear, because you at the end you're preparing something which is the engineering documents, right? So you need to be very specific what is the mounting method for you. If it is bolt, you just need to write what is the spec of the bolt, 8.8 degree, 8.8 grade, and what is the size of the bolt, and what is the quantity of that bolt. Or if it's done by some adhesive, you need to write what is that adhesive all about. You need to write about that adhesive. This is this adhesive by this make, and this is what it does. Like, you don't have to explain totally, but at least the type of adhesive, if you write that, it is good. It is very good than writing is sticking with the glue. And again, the AIP and the full bulkhead, how it is done, it is removable fastener. So this doesn't give me any sense of what is the method are you using. So it has to be driven with an specification that 8.8 grade of bolt, quantity 4, 6, whatever it is, of dimension this. This is what you are using to fasten it up. So this is what is needed, and this is the concern area in terms of IID, though the percentages are less, but still it's a concern. Okay, so in this IID, there is no need to have the entire chassis image, because we are not here to validate your chassis. The intent of this rule, the document is to validate your IID. And in this case, we don't need this. This is one of the image from an IID report going forward. And this is what was given in the same report. Yeah. So what is need of us is to have an technical drawing where you need to show us what is the height, width, and the length. So now in most of the cases, what we see, the drawing has in different units. But if I go back to the first page, you will see you are writing everything is in mm. So try to have the uniformity of the unit also, where you will place the technical drawing in the same unit or the same dimension what you have listed here on this column. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, definitely if it's in stock, standard IA, it has to have the photo, or whether it's in customized, definitely you need a photo here. And this is comes to a crucial part where what is needed. See, here we are here to understand whether your IA assembly it's compliant to the rule and how it is compliant. So if you see, there are explicit rules for the IA assembly where it talks about the dimensions with the bulkhead and what has to be done and how it has to be done. So you need to give a detailed understanding of your bulkhead dimension here. Then again, what is mounted on that? It is AIP. So you need to give a dimension here. Then we understand if it's a bolted, whether it has to be same dimension, or if it's welded, whether it has to be it can be allowed till the center line of the bulkhead. So this we would understand by looking at this slide, mounting method, where we understand what is your approach in doing a mounting. Is it a welding for you or is it a bolting for you? So this is how it has to be done. And then it's always important at the end you place the position of your IE on the chassis, how it is done. So if you see this 1, 2, 3, 4. If you include this 4 element, it completes or much part of your IA. See, and this remains same for even you go for a custom or you go for a standard. This is same, and this is what is not been specific given in the template, because this has to be understood from the student side that what is important. Now, the reason I am presenting you this straightforward is that we should not lose time in these things, because this is has to go in one go. IIT should not be taken for the twice. One time it has to get approved. SES can be taken because you need to understand the requirement, and like there could be a gap. But IIT is something which is very simple and very basic things. Yeah. So now let me talk something on about if somebody is going with a custom design. So for them, this is important slide where you need to mention this tab, total, the arrangement of the table is for you, and where you need to place the data and what has to be there in your, apart from what I have explained, calculation has to be there, technical drawing already explained, then the test photos, and the advantage disadvantage is usual going forward. And this is where it's most important for you guys, where we need to have energy displacement curve, and there is a specific place given. So in this place, we need to have that curve, and when you do a construction of the test, you need to have an image which has to be placed here, and the after impact, what is the state image. And please, just to tell you, whenever you do some experiment, try to keep that sample with you. We would definitely ask you during the TI, because that is where we wanted to see and validate your real document with the live part. Yeah. So this is total what I had for today as an SES and IID common mistakes. Hope that's clear for everyone. Kathy, should we take some
Thanks,
questions
Sonu.
if
Just a
we have 5
second.
minutes?
Yeah. Just let me see. So there's one question from Tazim, Mohammed Tazim. My question is that should we provide testing data from a college lab? Why is manufacturer data not acceptable?
Yeah. So see, if you have an authentication of the data is right from the manufacturer, it's a certified from a lab, and the data, the reports are with an hologram, it's always acceptable. But there are cases where there is an wrong practice, I would say, where the data are not legit enough. So if that data's confirmation and it's given with you, it's always welcome. And most important is what is here is like the date of the data. If it has been done in the last 5 years back and you are purchasing only today, so it is not relevant, right? So it has to be relevant with your material, because you cannot take somebody else's data and showcase at your own, because it has to be with your design and it has to be with your arrangement.
Thanks for that, Sonu. There's one question that came in via email. It was from a team that's planning on participating at the main competition. Their question was, right now, if they're planning on submitting the SES of a vehicle that they plan on manufacturing for the competition, but come September, should they change it and say they're going to go back to their previous year chassis? Because we allow for second year vehicles. What is the standard procedure for documentation for that? Do they get penalized? What do you suggest in this matter?
Okay, so in this regard, like it is more or less to understand what the changes they have done, and then what the changes they want to revert it back. So if any of those changes is like it's compliant to whatever we have discussed, and it is meeting the minimum condition of the rule book, should be okay. But it has to first meet whatever it is given in the rule book. So like we just have to look on their changes, what the changes did they make, and why, and what is again why they are going back.
So when do you think you should, as a reviewer, like I'm sure you'll get a lot of documents, right? A lot of teams documents, and it takes time to review each of these documents. So in this given situation, when do you suggest that the team share this their decision if they change the SES? Like when is the latest they should do that by? So that you have the time, because there's photo submissions that reviewers look at, video submissions. So when do you think you can we have to provide that deadline to teams?
See, in this case, like if SES deadline for us it is in September, so I would request the team to do it much before that, because if there is some changes, so definitely they have to submit in the new SES. So it's always advised for them to like send it as soon as possible, and then go with the other teams and meet the deadline of September for everybody.